Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who understand that there's more to entrepreneurship than finding the latest flash-in-the-pan strategies, who understand that in order to build your empire, you need a solid foundation. I wholeheartedly believe that entrepreneurship is the biggest self-development journey you can be on, and it's my mission to help you make that journey easier. I help you transition from a struggling, overwhelmed, and overworked entrepreneur to the relaxed and confident CEO and conscious creator of your dream life that you are meant to be. In this show, I bring together the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. I share my own experiences and knowledge as a molecular biologist and mindset coach for high-achieving entrepreneurs, and I interview other top scientists, coaches, and entrepreneurs so that you can get all the expert tips and strategies to help you trust yourself more, worry less, make better decisions, be more productive, stay focused and organized, and build your legacy. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist and mindset coach behind the show, and you're listening to the Wired for Success podcast. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Wired for Success podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to talk to Trevor Lohrbeer, a serial entrepreneur whose mission is to help others live more fulfilling lives by reaching their potential. He currently runs the Day Optimizer, a web app designed to help people reduce procrastination, increase focus, and improve work-life balance by building a daily schedule. And since I know that most of us struggle with finding time to do all the things we need to do, as well as all the things we want to do, I'm sure we can all learn a thing or two today. So welcome, Trevor, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Yes, and as usual, I would love to start by asking you how you got started as an entrepreneur, what your entrepreneurial journey has looked like so far, and what motivated you to start Day Optimizer.
So I think you could say that entrepreneurship is kind of in my blood because both my parents were entrepreneurs. Wow. My dad owned his own paper hanging business for years and then an interior design business. My mother owned several businesses when I was growing up. So even in my teens, I was like helping them do quotes and helping my mom send out letters and stuff like that. But my personal journey started in the late 90s. I had been living in San Francisco and I worked in the tech industry. I got a job working for one of the early internet startups. And we got bought out by a company in Silicon Valley. So I went down to Silicon Valley, worked for that company, and was getting tired of the commute. Really wanted to move to New Orleans because I'm an introvert and New Orleans was just so much more friendly than San Francisco. Right. So I wound up moving across the country to San Francisco, and then holing up in an apartment for a summer and built my first startup there.
As you do.
Yes, as you do. And I had gotten some mentorship from a fellow in San Francisco through the company that I was previously working for and kind of learned some of the ropes there. So I launched that and went from 0 to 100,000 users in 9 months, which back then that was considered fast growth. Now that's like, you do that in a day or two. And then from there I ran out of money. So I spent the whole summer working, ran out of money, launched the product, and then went and got a job. So then it started to grow and I was doing things on the side, and then I had to hire a support person. And one of the clients we served on the job kept saying, I want to start an internet business. I want to start an internet business. This was 1999. So right at the peak of the boom there. And so, we decided to launch a new startup. So I wound up selling my previous company and launching what would become a social network for professionals. Ooh. So it was essentially LinkedIn before LinkedIn was founded. We had a little bit different distribution model, but we raised $500,000 worth of funding.
Wow.
And then March 2000 happened, and the bubble just popped, and everything dried up. And we had some great employees. They stayed on working. We paid everyone as long as we could. I think we had funds until September, October that year. And some people stayed working for like a month afterwards. But like at some point in time, you just have to shut stuff down. So that's what we did. And then from there, I just kind of took a break, went back, actually worked for the startup I had previously sold. And then I had this opportunity to build a new tree map visualization, did that. And then that launched me into my third startup, which wound up being an enterprise visual data analysis company. And so we built tools for helping people analyze large amounts of data visually. So one of the classic things was the tree map that you can see up to 100,000 different elements on a single screen and kind of analyze individual data points in a way you can't with any other visualizations. And then, so kind of had a very bumpy road with that. But at the end, I was able to actually sell that. And then after that, that company was targeted on enterprise software. So that business is a couple different things. One is enterprise sales means you start every month at zero revenue.
Right.
And then you kind of like make sales for the month, and then you're trying to hit your targets, but every month you start at zero. And then the second thing is you're dealing with these large multinationals. Our customers like Walmart, Dell, US Army. We had customers all around the world, but it's not as fulfilling when you're just there like, after I had sold my company and I started doing some reflection on what had happened during that period, and I'd sold it to a startup that was helping Amazon retailers sell more online, and I basically realized I didn't want my business to be solely focused on helping like businesses just make more money. I wanted to help individuals, and so that was like kernel for that next thing, which kind of led into Day Optimizer, which is how do I help people really change their lives? And then the other thing was I had seen what a software as a service, a subscription model business looks like from the inside, because the company that bought mine was one of those. And I knew I wanted that as my next business model. So I constantly chose a SaaS business as my next business model. Right. And then was, okay, what will fit into that box? And my first idea actually didn't even work. My first idea was this site called Strategic Life Tools, which is helping people do life planning. And people don't do life planning. No. They do it during cusp events. I'm getting a divorce. I just retired. I just graduated. But then I was right back into an enterprise sales model, starting sales at zero every month. So I pivoted into time management, which people need to do every day.
They do.
And yeah, it's great. So it's easy to justify a subscription. And so, that's kind of like what led me into that, was like business model plus wanting to help people.
Oh, I love that. I love that journey. And your reasoning behind it is so cool, because you really have to build a business around the lifestyle you want to create as well. Like if you want to have this financial freedom and the security of not having to start at zero every month, then a subscription model makes total sense, right? So that's definitely a good thing. Have you ever considered doing more like a membership side thing with content in it, or did you straight away know you wanted to create something like an app?
So actually the first version of this business was a membership site. So Strategic Life Tools, and people can still go to it. I just made the membership free. But I set up the whole membership site. I produced 8 different tools that help people like do things like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where are you now? How do I get from here to there? All sorts of different tools to help people kind of do life planning. set up a little kind of program and the path through those tools and ran people through that program. And then after doing all this, like I spent 6 months working on this business and then realized, wait a second, no one's going to like subscribe on a monthly basis to this. Or like maybe they could, but I'd have to build a whole community first. And that's where it goes back into kind of knowing yourself is I'm not good at building communities. Right. So while there might have been a way for someone else to make that work, there wasn't a way for me to make that work in the way I wanted to structure my life. You know?
Yeah, totally understand that. So for all our listeners out there who are struggling with procrastination and distractions, could you share a few practical tips on how to stay focused and on track throughout the day?
Yeah, certainly. So one of the first things I talk about is to create a commitment list. Because too often what people do is a daily commitment list. Too often people have their entire to-do list. And that includes everything they want to do. And they look at that and it becomes overwhelming and stressful. And that can then cause procrastination or it can cause distraction because you look at that list and you go, oh, I can tackle that other thing on my list that's really quick, that's low priority, but I can get it done. So I'm going to jump to that instead of what I need to do today. Yes. So people just start doing what's easy, not what needs to be done.
Yeah, totally.
So if you spend the day, yeah, exactly. If you spend the beginning of the day just going through that master list and writing down, this is what I'm aiming for today, and then put aside the master list, then at least when you're looking at your list, you're only looking at what you've committed to. Like you can say, okay, it's going to be one of those items. You still have to have the discipline to do the hard stuff, but at least you've pre-selected and biased yourself that way.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, obviously, because I run a app that helps people schedule their day, is I'm really into time blocking and scheduling. And they are kind of two different things. Time blocking is just kind of saying, you know, I'm going to set aside this next hour and a half to work on this task. But you could do that at any point. So the value of time blocking is that you're setting a fixed amount of time for the task. So that can often help you increase your focus because specifically if you're doing, people make the distinction between time blocking and time boxing. So time boxing is where I say, I only have an hour for this task, right? So like, I'm going to write a blog post. I only have an hour. At an hour, I have to hit publish. At that point in time, that creates this time scarcity. Yes. And the way our brains work with scarcity is we go into this hyper-focus mode, which can be bad in some situations, right? There's lots of studies around like financial scarcity causing people not to be able to see the big picture and all sorts of things like that. But in the context of productivity, you can leverage that, the way your brain works to kind of like keep focused and reduce those distractions by kind of creating that artificial time scarcity.
Is that also like is it Parkinson's law that says that every task takes exactly as long as you give it?
Yeah, task span to take the amount of time allowed. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I've seen that in action.
Yes, particularly that happens a lot with research tasks. When like there's certain types of tasks where you just can kind of go down rabbit holes. So yeah, even like there's a lot of like higher level techniques where you'll take a task and chunk it down into smaller tasks and then time box those. Like if you're like, say you're writing a blog post, I might say I'm going to outline, write, edit. And then so each of those I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to outline, 30 minutes to write, 15 minutes to edit. Now I hit publish. So now I'm still time boxed an hour, but I've kind of like also set intermediate milestones to kind of keep me driven forward.
Yeah, I like that. So for me personally, it's always super important to have those goals that I'm working towards just to keep me on track. But there are probably a million different ways for people to approach goal setting. So what's your take on goal setting, and how do you define your goals and make sure you accomplish them?
So first I'm going to back up and tweak the question a little bit and challenge the concept of a goal, or just clarify in different ways, because I think there's three primary ways people can live their life and move forward in their life. And one is having a goal in the traditional sense that we think of it, which is this endpoint I'm trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of destination focused.
Yeah.
You can also think about it as the journey. I'm not focused on the endpoint. I'm focused on how I get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing you can focus is on, I'm focused on not where I'm going to, but how I'm moving from where I am.
Mm-hmm.
So I can be direction focused.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we may not know what goal we want to reach, but we know we want to leave here. Mm-hmm. So picking a direction might be more important. And you can say the goal is the direction, but I would argue it's nice to kind of decompose that and say what is that distinction between the endpoint we're reaching and the direction I'm moving away from.
Oh, that's a very interesting, that's a very interesting way of thinking about it. I've never really thought about it that way. So for me, it's more like, so I have a goal that's not the typical SMART goal, which is more kind of like a vision. So it's the direction. It's probably similar to your direction goal. So I know basically where I want to go or roughly what I want to achieve, but it's not it's not the SMART goal, where you set your exact numbers or dates when you want to have achieved something, or exact numbers that you want to achieve. And then I always also have these milestones, like I break the vision down into those steps that I want to reach along the way. But yeah, I really like your definition. That makes total sense.
I think it helps with something like the early days of entrepreneurship. When you're launching things, it's more important to make sure you're heading in the right direction than to have strong goals. I mean, you want strong motivation. So yeah, having a good vision of where you could get to. Mm-hmm. But the path is never straight.
It's not clear.
Yeah. And it is unlikely that if you set a very specific vision or specific goals, like 5 years ahead, or even like a year ahead, in a venture that you have never started before, that you're going to come anywhere close to that. Like you're going on this kind of weird, twisted journey. The aim there, though, is to have a good direction and constantly check in with yourself as you're going along, that's the right direction.
Yeah.
Do you know I think it's a fake Spanish word, the word vacilando?
No, never heard of it.
So vacilando is basically when you have a goal in mind, but you're not driving toward that goal. So like it's saying like, oh, we're going to go to the park today, but we're going to do a vacilando. So we're going to wander and we're going to enjoy the journey along the way, number one, and not be so focused on that end goal that we miss the little tangents that we can go along the way. So maybe as we're walking to the park, we see, there's this beautiful ice cream stand. Well, let's go and get some ice cream. And like, there's a nice little path that leads through this like neighborhood. So let's take that path. And we're kind of like, we still have the goal in mind. We're still heading in that general direction, but we're not so driven toward that goal that we have blinders on and we're ignoring life as we get to that goal. And I think that's a useful thing to think about if you want to have like a mindful entrepreneurship where you're paying attention to life as you're building your business.
That is so good. Yeah, it's really about enjoying the journey as well. It's not just putting your blinders on and going, but just enjoy the little things along the way. That's really nice. Something else I wanted to talk to you about is So I've had this time management or planning discussion just recently with someone that I talked to, and he said he doesn't do any planning, like he doesn't plan his week, he doesn't plan his days, because it feels too limiting to himself. That's probably this scarcity, time scarcity kind of mindset that we talked before. Is that a reaction that you hear a lot, that people think it's just too limiting to create a daily schedule? And why do you think personally for you it's so important to have a daily schedule?
Yeah, so I do hear that from people. Obviously not the people who become my customers. But I think some people will resist the structure, but I often will point out that there's freedom in that structure. So the classic thing is, a lot of those people tend to be creative types and they feel that it's stifling my creativity. But if you look at creativity comes through constraints. And very rarely can people like be creative if they just have a blank page. Like there's lots of classic exercises around that. Like if you just say, write me a story, here's a blank page. Okay. But if I say, write me a story with the word pickle, the color blue, and like a house in the woods, suddenly you can write a story. Yeah. Well, I just gave you constraints on that. I forced you to do something with that. And so through constraints comes creativity. And I feel if you block out your day, it's not about creating a minute by minute schedule and like trying to follow that exactly. What it's about is reasoning about your time and being deliberate with how you want to allocate that time and what your priorities are, and making sure that you're spending time on those priorities. Because when you're not deliberate, it's so easy to do what's easy and not what's needed.
Yeah, I totally.
So yeah, I do think for the people who are creative, it's like it actually can. A lot of my customers actually are in creative professions, but it now sets aside that creative time so they can focus on that creative stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I have embraced the scheduling. So I have a plan for every day, I have a plan for my week and all that kind of stuff, but I'm still hesitant about the time blocking. That's where I still feel limited in boxed in. So I'm not quite sure how I can get over that resistance, because whenever I tried this, set your timer for say 15 minutes and then work on this project, whatever you want to get done, then I find that I'm just so much in my head and I'm stressing about the time and not finishing in time that it really stops me from being creative at all. So this hasn't really worked for me so far. Do you have any tips on how to overcome that?
Yeah, relax more. I think so. I will often say that it's not the plan itself that's important, it's the planning process. So I often don't follow my schedule exactly. And I think if you are stressed that you need to be following your schedule exactly, that can cause this additional stress. If instead you view the process of building a schedule as the process of making the trade-off decisions to set your priorities and align your time to your priorities, then even like when your schedule doesn't go perfectly, you're like, okay, but I still have my priorities. I'm still working down from the most important things. I still have that plan laid out, and I don't need to exactly. It's 3:00. It needs to exactly end. The other strategy that I use is to set those intermediate milestones. So I will sometimes set especially if I'm working on something and say it's like an hour, maybe I'll set a 15-minute timer and just to kind of keep prodding me forward, but not to, not as a whip where there's someone behind me going yeah, you got to move faster, but just as this kind of gentle reminder. And I talked about this earlier with someone else, where I was saying that it's important to set the timer right. So like, my partner has this little time cue, and when it goes, those things are great because you can just flip them. Except that when it goes off, it goes it's like really grinding. And so I was recommending the way to do that is to use something that has like a gong or like a meditative sort of thing. Like if you think like you're just working and all of a sudden you hear chimes, they're like, oh, okay, 15 minutes has passed. You know, it's kind of like it changes your relationship to it. And then the third thing is realizing that almost no really big important task you can really set accurate time blocks to, right? What the point of time blocking versus boxing is that you are allocating the time to your important tasks regularly every single day and continuing to move forward. And so like if I need to, the classic one I use because everyone needs to do it. If I need to pay my taxes, you know, and I set, you know, okay, I'm going to work on my taxes for an hour and I don't finish my taxes for an hour. I don't go, well, that's the hour, right? Like I can decide two things. One is I can say like, okay, an hour's passed. Let me continue working on my taxes because I'm almost done, or like the other things in my day aren't important. It's tax day, right? I need to get them done. Or I can say, okay, I spent an hour. Let me put it aside. Let me schedule another hour tomorrow. Yeah. And I just keep working on it until it's done, which ties into another thing is like, I'm not a big fan on scheduling your whole week. Mm-hmm. I think it's important. It's useful to know, to have a sketch for your week. Yeah. But like, it's useful to build that schedule day by day, because then you can take into account, what did I get done yesterday? What didn't I do? And then, okay, just keep moving forward. And everything takes 2 to 3 times as long as you think it will. So
yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, I know it's taken me years, and that's like knowing that I think helps you not beat yourself up, right? Yeah. You go in with this intention, and I think creating that artificial time scarcity tricks your brain into try to working faster, mm-hmm. but then you have to just let that go and say like, it still may not go as fast as I want.
So true. I mean, I'm pretty good with prioritizing my tasks. So I always start with what's really important to me. So I have a morning routine that's very important to me and that I do before I get started. So I already know that I have done something for myself. But how do you prioritize your tasks and make sure that you do all the urgent and important things, but that you also manage to have time to do everything else that's important to you? So how do you plan this into your day?
Okay. So this might go, I'll jump into a couple concepts for Day Optimizer just because they'll be helpful here. So I divide things into like to-dos into 3 categories, mm-hmm. Which are appointments, which are on my calendar. Yep. Those are fixed, right? Tasks, which are things I need to get done, mm-hmm. and then activities. Mm-hmm. And so often when people are doing time management, they forget about the activities because they've got their task list, but they don't put eating lunch on their task list. So they forget to allocate time for lunch. Or then there's the things that are kind of intermediate, like going for a run, right? Like the exercise, or meditating. Well, sometimes people put those on the task list, but because it's done every day, again, they don't, and then they forget to allocate time for it. Mm-hmm. So I specifically have that other category of activities so I can make sure I'm allocating time for those kind of important things. And then, yeah, I think I've learned over the years, if you don't tackle the non-urgent important stuff, it becomes urgent important.
It does.
So just like I do some more informal stuff where I'll go like, okay, there's that deadline. Let me work backwards from that. What do I need to get done for those sort of things? Mm-hmm. And an important other thing related to this is that priorities are all relative.
They are, absolutely. Yep.
So it's important to know how things compare to one another. So when I'm planning my day, I develop my priority list, but I also have the idea of these are the things I'm going to drop if my day doesn't go to plan.
I see.
So I kind of already know, even though I might schedule them a little bit earlier in the day, right? So like, okay, maybe I'll often, for instance, in the winter, schedule my runs around like 1 or 2 in the afternoon because the sun's up, it's warm, and I can run. I'm not running early in the morning. I'm not running at night. So, but then like, yeah, if it's a chaotic day, like it may be like, usually exercise for me is one of those foundational habits that I make sure it gets done. But as an example, I might decide today, like, again, we'll go back to tax day. It's tax day. Taxes need to get done. Okay, I'm not going for my run, right? You just kind of work that in there.
True. So now I'm curious that we've talked about Day Optimizer. How does your app help people structure their day exactly? So what does it look like? Is it kind of like Trello where you have your projects that you assign to a day, or what can people expect from your app?
So the idea behind it is to take people through a planning process.
Okay.
So it's a workflow that brings you through these 3 steps on how to plan your day. I'm a big believer that from a software perspective, we've kind of swung too far into the free form user interfaces where like you just throw a user in and they have to figure everything out. And we're starting to see a reemergence of workflow-based software, like Hey from 37 Signals Basecamp just got released, which applies a workflow approach to email. So I think these workflow things, but this is a 3-step workflow where you start off first creating your commitment list. So taking everything that you could possibly do today, looking at it, and then saying, this is what I'm going to commit to doing. So that creates this psychological commitment. In the psychological research, that would be a goal intention, right? Then the second step is to allocate your time. And there I make the distinction between allocation and estimation. And that when we allocate time, we're just saying how much time I'm going to spend on it today. I don't care how long it takes to get done. I might need to know that, but this is about what are my priorities? What am I allocating time today? And then the third step is to actually schedule those. And it's interesting. People think that step is all about just slotting stuff into slots. But probably more important is making the trade-off decisions about what you won't do and like uncommitting from stuff. So most people, when they go through this 3-step process, they get to that third step and they have way more on the list than they can possibly do that day.
Yeah, that would be.
There you go. That's often me too, but I've trained myself to be better because of this process. So you're there, you build out this whole schedule, and the nice thing, one of the things that creating the schedule gives you is it's a fixed resource. It lets you see, I only have this amount of time. And so once you add everything to your schedule and you still have like 5-6 other things on the other side that are unscheduled, you're there like, okay, what is really important? You have to then make that decision. Is one of those things that I haven't scheduled so important that I need to take off something I did schedule and replace it? So then becomes this, I call it the implicit prioritization process. You're not setting priorities up front where you're saying, oh, this is 5 stars or whatever. You're actually setting priorities based upon what you schedule, what you can decide to spend your time on. And you're making trade-off priorities, which is one of the most effective ways to set your priorities. Set it to 5 or 1 to 10. The classic thing is you ask someone to say what's important on 1 to 10 and everything's a 10.
Yeah.
Well, that's not useful. If I say you can either do A or B, well, you're forced to make a choice.
Yeah.
And that's what the schedule does, is it forces you to say, what am I going to put on that schedule? And that's the important part of that process. But the reason why you want to go through this 3-step process is you want to have all your time commitments, all your time allocations set before getting to that, because otherwise people cheat themselves. They go, oh, that task that should take an hour, I can do that in a half an hour, because they're trying to fit more into their schedule.
Yes.
Right? And so it's really important to have that as a separate step, to say like, without even looking at the schedule, how much time do I think this realistically takes? you've committed to that. Now on the schedule page, you can change it, but you've already set your default. You've already set the default saying, this is going to take an hour. And so for you to change that, you have to you now have to argue with yourself about why you can actually change it rather than just fudging it. So that's kind of why that kind of creates this better schedule. Yeah.
I would definitely have to try that. So before we go, can you please share with our audience where they can find you online, where they can learn more about you, and where they can sign up for a free trial of your app?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm online at Fast Fedora on Twitter, hence the hat.
Mm-hmm.
And people can also find me at fastfedora.com for my blog. Dayoptimizer.com is where they can get the app and they can sign up for that. If anyone wants to send me an email, I'm available at trevor@dayoptimizer.com. If people want to go through my old life planning thing, that's at strategiclifetools.com.
So I really hope people will take you up on that offer and test your app, because I think it sounds really, really cool. And thank you so much for your time and for your great tips. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was wonderful.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show. It would mean the world to me, because you would help me reach more entrepreneurs like yourself who would love this show. If you'd like to learn more about creating a widely successful business without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity, make sure to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And if you think, heck yes, I want to listen to each and every one of these amazing episodes, but my day just doesn't have enough hours, well, if that's you, I have something special for you. To help me spread the word about this podcast, I've created a contest and I'm giving away some super cool prizes for those of you who take a sec to subscribe, rate, and review the show. And one of the amazing prizes that you can win is to watch me create my brand new Get Your Life Back Productivity Powerhouse course that teaches entrepreneurs how to win back 1 to 2 hours of precious time each day so that they can do all the things they love. I'll later sell that course for 997 euros, but as a thank you for supporting my podcast launch, you'll get to watch as I create it for free. And just like that, you will have enough time to listen to each and every Wired for Success episode. Woohoo! To find out more about the contest and the other amazing prizes, go to www.wiredforsuccess.solutions/launch-contest. See you next time.